So can you see now one of the reasons why disclosure isn't necessarily coming to land in your lap is because it would still keep the false matrix in control. Today I want to talk to you about the two-world split in much more detail than I shared with you in a previous video. I'm also going to talk to you about what it is that keeps the false matrix in place, because there's so many people saying, come on already, I want to go and live there in that divine place. You can call it New Earth, the organic matrix, the true matrix. It doesn't matter what words you use. There's a concept within you right now that says there is something else. It's not even a desperate there's got to be. It's the frustration of knowing there is another way of being. This world that we're living in is done. This way in which we're living is done. And I'm going to explain to you what I mean by these worlds, because I'm not talking about the planet Earth. I'm talking about two different frequencies. The world of the false matrix, which is a frequency you've been living in, and the world of the true matrix, which is a frequency you are currently aligning to. What is it that holds this very persistent old matrix, false matrix in place? It's one thing. It's control. Now today I want to just tell you, before I keep moving forward with the conversation, I want to tell you that there is, first of all, a lot of info, but second of all, I'm not holding back. I'm not going to be holding back today. You know, I released a video called Two World Split a couple of weeks back, and I released it at a time when I was very concerned about not triggering people or being misunderstood or being called negative. Oh, there she is, Kerry, spreading fear porn again. I didn't want any of the backlash. So you know what I did? I really held back. I really held back from saying to you things like, listen guys, not everyone's going to make it, because that's the truth, and it's a painful truth, and it's really okay to come to terms with it, because there is this love and light, rainbows and unicorns, spiritual fantasy, fairy tale that people are trying to perpetuate, and by doing that, they're actually inadvertently, unwittingly and unknowingly maintaining the false matrix, because the false matrix is a place of illusion. It's a place of fairy tale. But the organic matrix, whilst it may be necessary for you to confront some very difficult truths, even some moments of harsh truth, where it takes you and where it centers you into, it's heavenly. It is a connection with true heaven, which is a connection with your organic self, your divine self. Because that's the part of you that came here to navigate the divine matrix. The divine self navigates the divine matrix. The ego self navigates the false matrix, right? That makes sense. False self, false matrix. True self, true matrix. There are people out there still trying to tell me that the ego is necessary for you to move forward and to grow, and you've just got to curtail. Wow. There is so much that the spiritual community that they meant well, many of them still do. They're not out there to harm you or anybody else, but they are causing harm by spreading information that tells you that all you've got to do is put love in your heart and everything is going to be okay and everyone's going to make it, and it's this kumbaya kind of, we'll all just link arms and be best friends. There are people who don't want that. That's the truth. There are people on this planet who don't want that. So there has to be an alternative for them, right? Those of you, and I believe, and I'm not going to say to you this is the absolute truth, I'm saying to you honestly, this is a belief of mine. I believe that 2/3 of the planet is going to make it into the organic matrix, and I'll talk about what that means. About 2/3 of the planet, about 1/3 of the planet, they're not going to make it. But then where the heck do they go, right? And are they doomed, and are they going to be punished, and what's going to happen to them? 1/3 of the planet, where they're currently choosing to go, is back into the reincarnation cycle, where they lose their memory once again, where they are reincarnated once again into a life where they will forget who they are, which is very much what you're experiencing, because before you came into this life, you lost the memories of who you were. You came into this life without remembering your name or the background and the history of who you had been prior to the name that you're called now. So moving into, for that 1/3 of the population, moving into the next incarnation is going to be exactly the same. Memory wipe, blank slate, start all over again. The difference, however, is very important, and it is this. They're moving off into a 4D world, a 4D planet, literal planet, another place away from Earth. Because Earth has chosen to host 5D consciousness, which is Earth's resonance. Earth, in fact, can easily host 5, 6, and 7D. So anything from 5 to 7D, that is Earth's natural happy place, her alignment, her zone of contentment. Under 5D, it is not natural for Earth. It's a struggle for Earth to hold that, and it doesn't go very well, as we've noticed. But Earth, which, and I'm talking here about the consciousness of the planet, hosted us in this game we were playing, wherein we experienced ourselves in complete forgetfulness, an utter manipulation. By the way, that's what that was, an utter manipulation of our free will. But that took place, and you know what? We said, to hell with this, it's not okay. No, I don't think that this is fair for other human beings to come into this level of 3D, to be so manipulated, to have their own free will used against them, to be told you have a choice, but then not to see the choice that you have, only to be given one solution and one outcome. These were the kinds of games that were played in the false matrix. The false matrix was upheld by some very dark overlords. There's a playlist that I've got called Cosmic Origins, and there's another one called The False Matrix. You can go and watch those for a bit of background, but that's the truth. The architects of the false matrix were of the most darkest, most depraved orientation imaginable. And it is these, and they're a small minority, it is these handful of beings that initiated the false matrix that we once lived in, where the complete annihilation of our connection to our sovereign source self, our God self, was held away from us. So we were told, you got free will, you can reconnect. Oh, but by the way, it's just going to be really difficult for you to do that, close to impossible. So we've waited for this point, which is the ascension cycle. The planet is ascending. Yes, personal ascension can happen any day, any time. But the planet and the planetary mass is moving into a massive solar flash, also known as the micronova. It's moving into a pole shift. It's moving into some very dramatic tipping point events. These tipping point events ensure that Earth is cleansed. But shock horror, many of you are going to say, what about me? How will I survive? How will anything survive? As a 3D being, nothing survives. But as a 5D being, you shift. Not only do you survive, you shift back into your home space, your home resonance, who you are, who you were always designed to be. It is the most, and it makes me so emotional to even think about the beauty of where we're going. And I wish I could have that moment, and I know I won't, but I wish I could have that moment with each of you to see your faces when you go, oh my gosh, is this where we were going to? I had no idea. It was so beautiful, and I'm so grateful that you have no idea of how beautiful it is, because if you knew, you would be depressed. You would long for it and pine for it, and you would be in grief because you don't have it every single day. That is where you're going to, which is nothing more than the return to your true self, to your highest alignment. That's where you're going to. And Earth, the current planet that we live on, has chosen to be the host of that next experience. Another planet has been selected to host the 4D expression. Now listen to what I said, the 4D expression. So there's two groups of people, one group ascending, one group not ascending, but they're not going into a 3D realm dominated by the dark overlords that we've got here. Why? Because we are so done. And when I say we, I'm talking about we as a galactic being. So this is the collective consciousness of humanity who is aligned to the organic matrix. We've looked at humanity and this distortion of free will, this manipulation, and said, this is not okay anymore. So what this earthly ascension cycle is about, this is the mother of all ascensions. This is not just any ascension cycle. This is an ascension cycle wherein the 3D manipulation instigated by the overlords that held multiple, not just planet Earth, multiple false matrices, where they hijacked people's free will and used it against them and used them to create and become essentially energetic fodder for their own upkeep. These dark lords are being taken out of business. These dark lords are being prevented from continuing their path. So we as a collective galactic, so this might be you in your higher version, you in your galactic self or your higher self, because people often say, who are the galactics, Kerry? It's you. You are a galactic being. Where do you live? You live in a galaxy, right? So you're so used to thinking of yourself so small. Well, I am, and then you name the country you belong to. No. Name the planet you belong to, and then name the galaxy that you belong to, and then go even beyond that. I want you to expand your sense of who you are so that you can understand that you're also a galactic being. The galactics have looked at this and said, we're not playing this game anymore. It's time to pull the plug on this way of being. God's source consciousness has issued a decree. It's like a wave of consciousness. And that decree says, no more. No more of this level of manipulation. So those who are not ascending into 5D are moving off to another planet already selected who's going to host them for a 4D experience. Will they die? Yes, that in a sense, Ascension is a death point for everybody, but we're so used to death being an end. We're so used to death being, oh my God, it's over. When you transition from a 3D to a 5D body, it looks nothing. And I do mean this, nothing like death. The word death doesn't even come close to describing what occurs. It is, if anything, it's a resurrection of the true self. It is a dropping of the ego in its totality. That's the only death that I can describe to you as you move through that ascension process. As you move into that 4D world, if you were going there into the 4D world because you decided, I'm not quite ready, not quite there yet, I'm still playing, so I still want another turn to step into 4D, to gain more information, and to step into sovereignty, and to do it consciously, which is what many of you are doing right now. Right now, you've got the very hard task. It kind of feels like you're swimming upstream, of waking up while everybody else is asleep. Those moving off into the 4D world want a similar experience of actually having consciousness come into a unconscious body. Please remember that ascension takes place on a physical level. People think of ascension as a consciousness thing, which it is, but to ascend your consciousness is very, very easy. Very. To ascend your body, which is dense, which is the home of the ego and the programs and the overlays, that's a different story entirely. Because that's where everything got embedded that hooked you into the false matrix. So it is that which is being washed out and cleansed as you move into 5D. Those who move off into 4D move off into a new world and move off into a new life. People always ask me, what about children? What about animals? And I always answer, but I know there's so many comments, you can't read them all. So let me just tell you in case you ask the question. Children go with parents, whichever parent they are. Generally, it's the parent in the highest alignment that the children move with. But each case is exactly that, an individual case. And animals, people ask what's going to happen to the animals. Oh, the poor animals, because we're so used to seeing nature as somehow less. We're not used to the true orientation with nature, which is they're fine. Animals are so capable of shifting consciousness into 5D and even beyond 5D. I'm saying to you, it's going to be really difficult for the human body. It's not difficult for the animal body at all. So the moment they get those planetary triggers, which they're already getting, we're already receiving, this is why animals are behaving differently on the planet right now. They are already picking up and receiving the signals that is already transforming their body at the tipping point, which is the micronova, the pole shift, where we experience this massive influx of light, wherein Earth says, that's it, I'm done hosting 3D, it's 5D only now. At that point, for those of you that haven't watched the video, I did release a video called The Pole Shift and the Micronova, How Are We Going to Survive This? And I explained to you that your body shoots out a bubble of light. It's an emanation from your chakric column that moves out from your center of your physical body to surround your physical body in a shield, in a bubble of light. This is how you survive ascension. And again, the word survive is ridiculous, because you're not going to survive. It's not a doomsday moment. See, this is where people, I released this video about the pole shift and the micronova, and people going, oh, this is fear porn, this is negativity. This is more beautiful than any fairy tale could ever be. Listen to what I'm saying to you. You're going to go into a bubble, a shielded bubble of light, and when you're in there, time stops. And all that there is your cosmic return to your divine blueprint. And you walk out of that bubble. Remember, the bubbles are timelessness. So was it a second? Was it 25,000 years? It's just this beautiful encapsulated moment. You're surrounded by your healing crew, which is part of your own monad or your own oversoul. You're surrounded by them. You are restored. You are returned. You are reinvigorated. You walk out of that bubble into true earth, the organic matrix, as the divine self, interacting with the divine matrix. It's so much more beautiful than a fairy tale. There is nothing negative when I say to you that the world that we know, which is the false matrix, is disintegrating. It's a beautiful thing. And from the disintegration, a new birth occurs. Phoenix rises. Those moving off, and so of course the animals go with you, right? And this is nothing. This is so seamless for animals to do. For those moving off into 4D, no, they don't keep their memory, just like you didn't before. At least for this life, and well, any other that's held in the false matrix. So they're going into a version of the false matrix because there's got to be something familiar, but it will not be the false matrix as we've known it, wherein there is this almost impossible task, this near impossible task of realigning to your divine truth. When there is so much authoritarian control around you, to try to do that is very, very difficult. Now we want to talk about something very important. Why is it that we haven't yet had disclosure? Why is it that we haven't yet had the big boom, the big flash, the big what? Come on already. You know, so many people in my online community have expressed this impatience to me. And a couple of weeks ago, we did a very hard-hitting call in the Galactic ground crew. They're a portion of my online community. And I gave them some, I mean, you think I'm being direct with you today? I gave them some super hard, in-your-face truths. And most of them gripped onto their chair, or at least energetically did, and they were kind of like dazed and confused, like, oh my God, is this where we're going? What? Whoa. And there's this wonder, and there's this moment of reality hitting them. And I said to them, you see, guys, you were always so impatient, weren't you? You were always so like, come on, let's do this thing, let's go, not realizing the implication. So I want to just share that with you. I want to share with you that for those of you who are impatient, you're waiting for something, and that's where your impatience is coming from. You shouldn't be in waiting. You should be every day actively participating in your ascension, in your higher alignment. And you don't do that once and say, okay, I've done it now, let's go. This is an everyday practice, an everyday dedication, and an everyday devotion. For those of you in my online community, there is an amazing short course in the meditation library, and it's called Energy Body Realignment. Go do that. Do that often, because that's the beginning of you restoring that alignment. Of course, there's loads of other meditations and so forth there, but go do that one in particular. Because what you're going to find is that what maintained the false alignment, which is the antichrist alignment of the false matrix, what maintained that alignment was our buy-in or our agreement to control. This is where it gets difficult to understand. So stay with me. You were controlled in the false matrix, but you wanted to be controlled. Not with your mouth. Your mouth never said, oh, please control me. I really want to be controlled. Not even with your conscious thoughts. But at a very deep subconscious level, you got conditioned, programmed into a way of being wherein others were responsible. The government was responsible to do this. The council was responsible, town council or municipality or whatever you've got in your country, they were responsible to do that. The schooling board, they were responsible to do this. Your boss was responsible to do that. Everybody that you could blame for something else held authority that you didn't have. You might want to play that back again and really take it in. So what that meant was you were deprived of being able to take responsibility for yourself, and that felt good. That was the buy-in. Not realizing that the responsibility that you relinquished became control somebody else would have over you. And when you are controlled, guess what happens? In the beginning, it feels like this. Ah, what a relief. What a relief. Somebody else is in charge. What a relief. I don't have to do all these pesky things. What a relief. Somebody else runs the monetary system. I don't have to do it. Somebody else runs the world. Somebody else runs the government. So it's all somebody else. So there's this almost a sense of gratitude. And then there's a sense of needing direction from authority. That is when you've become addicted to being controlled. Recently, I had this wonderful conversation with a very courageous member of my online community. And he had so many wonderful, instantaneous realizations. The kind of realizations that I don't think many people can have in a couple of minutes, but he had these realizations. And then directly afterwards, he said, I think I need to go to see a psychic. It wasn't directly afterwards. It might have been a day or two. I think I need to go and see a psychic. And I said to him, hold on. That's another way for you to give your power away. Do you see, we do this so unwittingly. There's nothing in the conscious brain that says, oh, I need to go give my power away. But we, you, us, have become so conditioned to the authority of others leading us. That was the way of the false matrix. Somebody else was in charge and it felt good. So we became addicted to authority, addicted to the control, addicted to the relief of not having the burden of responsibility. I'll go to a psychic, So this, when I'm saying hand over responsibility, you did it on every level. And let me just say, because I'm sure a couple of people are jumping up and down right now, am I saying psychics are bad? Hell no, I'm psychic. I did psychic readings for years. I do readings for my group once a month. So I'm definitely not saying that, but I am saying it's a very rare psychic who can give you information without giving you prediction, because prediction becomes part of the addiction of control. But we're not going to go into that right now. So there is something wired into the false matrix that begs the individual participant to not be in control, to seek control. And then we always mimic the system that we're a part of, so we become controlling. So what do? We start controlling ourselves. I'm got to control my emotions, got to control my thoughts, got to control myself, got to control what I crave, got to control. Because we don't understand that there's something beyond control. What is that? If you're not in control, surely you're out of control. Surely that's a bad thing. The opposite to that level of control and indoctrination and programming that we all participated in is leadership. When you lead yourself, then it's not that you are controlling yourself, you are leading your emotions, you are leading your life, you are leading your healing, you are leading your growth. The moment people complain and they blame or they turn to others, they are not leading. Now, you can absolutely be in leadership of your life and say, hey, I need a massage, or I need a doctor, or I need whatever you need. So you can absolutely seek support from others, but from a place of leadership. So I tell people all the time, my job is to lead you to you. I'm not going to do the work for you, obviously. I lead you to you, and then you walk the journey. So it's the symbiotic relationship that you get into when you work at this level of accountability. That's what leadership is. It's personal responsibility, it's accountability, it is you leading your own life. So can you see now one of the reasons why disclosure isn't necessarily coming to land in your lap is because it would still keep the false matrix in control. Oh, look, the authorities have told me. The authorities have freed me. What's going to happen to humanity? They're going to keep turning to the authorities. What must I do now? What happens next? And even when the authorities say, well, guys, you're in charge now. What does that mean? Help me understand. So there's this continual addiction to needing information, guidance, direction, and authority from an external source. Somebody else out there must tell me what to do. You need a guide to help you to switch into self-leadership. It's not an easy thing to do on your own. It's not impossible. You can do it on your own. That's what I do. That is what I share with people. How to switch into self-leadership at a very, very deep level. And that's the path of enlightenment. It's when you're walking it. So now you understand disclosure, if it were to come, what would it really do? It would only bring people to another level of blame. It would only bring people to another level of, okay, so now we've got to punish others. What's going to be done about this? What are they going to do? Robbing you, the individual, of authority, autonomy, self-leadership. You don't get to have the proof from an external source. You get to be the proof. You get to live that proof. And no, it's not comfortable. It isn't. Don't look for it to be comfortable. To be a being of consciousness in a world designed for unconsciousness, it's not easy. You're going to get looked at. You're going to get called names. That's why I've stopped worrying when people call me names in the comment section. Finally, it's become not okay in the sense like, oh, doesn't bother me. It does bother me. It's not pleasant. But it's not going to stop me. It's not near enough to keep me from giving you the truth, because that's where we are now. We are now walking a journey into truth, and we're walking it together. You might be in different places on your journey, but we're all walking in the same direction. And this is what it means to say we are all walking each other home. So if you haven't seen the video on the pole shift, I'm going to leave it for you up there. Lots of love, everyone. Do subscribe and please like the video. It's so supportive to get other people to have a chance to watch it as well. Lots of love. Bye-bye for now.